Hello and welcome to Season 3 of Meet the Drapers, Brand Accelerator. Every week, 3 entrepreneurs pitch their startups to the Drapers and a VIP guest judge. Every episode, the judges declare a winner to move on to the semifinals.
And the winner is...
But here's the twist. You, the viewer, can invest in any and all of these startups. Like a company? Go to meetthedrapers.com and invest in their live crowdfunding campaign, and you can bring them back for the season finale.
The crowd is voting in 3 of our finalists.
This is your shot to invest like a venture capitalist. Now, let's make some money.
Welcome to Meet the Drapers. I'm Tim Draper. I'm a venture capitalist with Draper Associates. This is my father, Bill Draper. He's one of the pioneers of venture capital. He did some amazing investing, and then he moved into the nonprofit world. And over here, we have my sister, Polly Draper. She's a famous actress. She was in 30-something. Then she went off to direct, write, produce, and this is Prita Uppal. Prita is an amazing woman. Went to Stanford and went on to the Harvard Business School. She runs an ad platform called Hooked, and she also runs the Harvard's Women's Entrepreneur Group. So tell us about your connection with entrepreneurship, why you like entrepreneurs, and tell us a little bit about Hooked.
Thank you. Well, it's so nice to be here. So I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. So I've just been obsessed with, entrepreneurship, building things, bringing them to market. When I was at business school, I never interviewed. I never even made a resume. I was like, I'm going to start my own company. And so I've seen it all. Like I graduated in 2004.
From business school?
From business school, yeah. So saw the ups, the downs. And even now, I'm an advisor to a bunch of companies. I love, helping entrepreneurs. It's just something that is in my blood.
So if you were going to give one piece of advice to the entrepreneurs we've got coming here, what would that be?
What I really think matters is being so incredibly scrappy. I feel so many times people get money and then all of a sudden they're spending like crazy. I mean, my heart hurts. I just think, money runs out so fast. Even today, no matter how successful my company is, I'm still gonna go to Fiverr and pay $10 to get a flyer made.
Particularly at a time like this, where everything's hot.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for an entrepreneur to go figure out how to get money, and all of a sudden they're funded and they get more money than they needed, then they spend more money than they needed. But what happens is they've hired on a bunch of people, and those people will continue to draw down the capital. I think that's a really tough concept to realize that, oh, hey, it was really easy to raise money at this point. Another point, it may be very difficult to raise money.
What is Hooked again?
We're a mobile ad platform, so we're sort of like a matchmaker for brands and users. So we connect brands with the users that they are looking for.
And the biggest challenge you've had running the Harvard Women's Entrepreneur Program, what is the biggest challenge getting more women to become entrepreneurs?
Fear. I think, we tend to be a lot more emotional. We tend to, I think guys just in general sort of have that, hey.
They don't question themselves.
They don't, right? They don't. Having the confidence, feeling comfortable, believing in yourself. I think just getting over that and just sort of saying, okay, look, I'm going to risk it all and see what happens.
Because Silicon Valley's been criticized for not supporting enough women.
You were one of the first who brought a woman in as a partner.
That's right. She was a full partner of mine. We were both equal, and she was marvelous. So Robin Richards and I had a great success, and it was largely due to her. Women have a different way of looking at things. They're a little more creative. They're better listeners.
Wait, what did he say?
They are very good.
Well, let's see if we've got some women entrepreneurs. The idea is that they come, they pitch. Of those 3, we choose one to go forward in our semifinals. They get funding, they get all sorts of support. Let's bring on those entrepreneurs. But before we do, let's see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, my name is Jeff O'Neill. I'm the founder of Zephyr Aerospace. Zephyr designs and manufactures high-density lie-flat seating for any type of transport, cars, trains, and also airplanes. The reason why this product is so cool and why I'm so excited to be here is that it's a huge consumer win. Everyone in the world flies by plane, and at some point when you prefer a nonstop flight, you would love to have the option to sleep. It doesn't exist. So my goal is to make in-flight sleep more affordable. I like the sort of free-willed nature of the show, it seemed to be something that anyone with any idea, however crazy enough, could actually pitch and become credible. Based on my research, what I've done in the past, I think my product is really primed for this type of activation. I want to get customers attracted to it so they can help me convince airlines this is a product which they should buy.
Welcome to Meet the Drapers. Give us your pitch.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeff. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zephyr Aerospace. We're solving the problem of improving transportation for 80% of all global travelers. Want to imagine the year 1960, when the Pan Am Clipper traveled between the East Coast and to Europe. It was a wonderful experience. This was actually a picture of economy class. How pleasant everyone, how happy everybody is. Fast forward 60 years, it's become a miserable experience. Tighter seats, no meals, everything a la carte. 80% of all travelers in the world travel like this.
Bigger, now. Get them bigger. They are too small.
In 2 more years, airlines will be having you standing up on some seats on flights under 4 hours.
Come on.
It's true, it's true.
That's true.
We have a solution. The Zephyr seat offers every economy class customer who's willing to pay an upgrade a lie-flat seat in a high-density configuration, very similar to a bunk bed. Passengers board the plane as they would on any normal flight in a premium economy class section, and they can choose a lower bunk or an upper bunk, both of which can be accessed by a telescopic ladder. The entire seat is only 6.5 feet off the ground, but affords a perfect upright position for taxi, takeoff, landing, eating, and a lie-flat mode when the customer wants to sleep. We're solving the problem of making in-flight sleep more affordable for 80% of every single person who travels. This is a rendering of what the center section would look like on board an airframe. And the seats would look very similar to what you see on an aircraft now. So this is how much space is given for premium economy class customers. Airlines charge 2 times the price for an upgrade from economy to premium economy. This seat replaces the premium economy seat on board the airframe now, but offers everyone a bed with exactly the same density. And this is a foam mock-up that we built.
Oh.
We built a full version of this. You have to imagine that the same seat is on the top level.
Oh, let's go in. Here, I'll come in. Can I sit and without breaking it?
I'll show you how it works.
I get it. You go in here.
Taxi and takeoff position. And it should be perfectly clear even for you.
Yeah,
so
this is good because I'm pretty tall. What do I do here?
So go all the way down. Keep going. You've got more room.
Okay. So, pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable. I can definitely do this. Okay, you guys carry on.
Yes.
How much headspace do they
The
have?
exact same. It's basically an exact replica of the lower bunk, just above, you have to imagine.
Okay, and then what happens to the overhead bins?
So the overhead bins are still there. You can see them. They're on the outboard part, and that provides storage for those passengers. And underneath here, we have a locker that will open up, and you can put a soft carry-on bag here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Boeing, have you talked to either Airbus or Boeing?
We have, actually. Boeing has a startup group called Horizon X, and they're interested in exploring this concept where we can get an airline partner. So we're also in discussions with about 10 airlines right now.
What is the reaction that Boeing had?
Boeing is an OEM, so they produce aircraft. So to the extent that seats can help them sell more airplanes, they're very interested. And a lot of the airlines that we're talking to exclusively use Boeing aircraft.
So you will sell to the airlines.
We will. The airline is the customer.
And what's to keep them from just doing this
Designing
themselves,
it themselves
or
after
something?
copying.
The airline industry is the only industry that's actually negatively innovated in the past 60 years. The best thing about this seat is there's no moving parts. So a traditional business class seat is very heavy. It weighs over 350 pounds, and it's very high maintenance. This is not a seat that converts to a bed. It gives you 2 different environments. So you have an upright position for taxi and takeoff, eating, working, watching a movie, and then you have a lie-flat environment. All the direct maintenance costs are reduced by about 85%. So 1 unit of these we're estimating we can build and sell with a sizable margin for $10,000. So 2 levels.
And what do they pay now for a seat?
This is replacing a premium economy class seat. It's about $7,000 to $10,000, depending on the actual quality. But a business class seat, nobody knows this, but can cost over $200,000 for 1 seat.
So have you?
They pay to Boeing.
Well, they pay to the airline, to the seat manufacturers. There's only about 4 of them in the world. And then
are you at their mercy? Are you going to do your own seat manufacture?
We have a partner right now that's helping us do some of the engineering for this.
Are they one of the 4?
They're one of the 4, yeah.
I'm wondering whether you've thought through the business model the best way you can, because you're at the mercy of the guy who manufactures it. You're at the mercy of the airline. You have no connection with the end user.
Commercial aviation is one avenue for this product. We're looking at trains. I've met with Amtrak as well. We're also looking at bus companies in Europe, China, and the US. Commercial aviation is the lowest hanging fruit, but it has the most impact.
Now you have somebody trapped in there for 10 hours. Why aren't you selling them something?
That's an opportunity for airlines to ancillarize every other part of this seat. I believe it's a hardware problem, not a software problem.
I'm already sold on the design. I think it's a great idea. I think you're going for the right thing. I am not sold on your business model. You sell these things to airlines. First of all, have only a few customers. They can turn the screws on you, and you only have at most 4 suppliers who can deliver this to you. That is the kind of business that gets squeezed. You need somehow to get to the end user.
I think the problem you've got is the minute this has any success, Boeing is going to be there selling the same customer you're trying to reach, and they've got the leverage.
There are a lot of smaller shops that also produce seats. They just don't have a lot of airline customers. Our goal here is that actually probably the best benefit for the airline industry is once one airline buys it, they all buy it. The entire industry for seats for commercial airlines is about $2.5 to $3 billion. And of that, premium economy class seating is about 20 to 25%.
What's your background?
So I've always been in the travel space. I've been a champion for those that always want a free upgrade. I've helped people travel farther and longer for less money. So I used to build pricing algorithms that help airlines price different products. So, and I travel 345 days a year, so I pretty much live on a plane. So this is a kind of a thought process that said, well, why can't airlines design a piece of hardware that people actually want to pay for? The problem with business class seats are you get the bed and all the other stuff around it that nobody cares about, but they can't separate that from the main amenity. Customers want to sleep. That's all they want to do. And we realize there's an inflection point. About 10 hours is when people actually begin to consider an investment in their personal comfort. And this product is directly oriented to serve that niche.
What about the people that can't get up to the top bunk? Because there are a lot of those.
There are. ADA compliance is 50%. So because we have a lower bunk and an upper bunk, we are definitely in compliance. There are obvious and logical trade-offs, right? If you want a business class light seat, you're gonna have to make trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs is if you're afraid of heights, it's not the perfect product for you. Yeah. But the airlines don't want to intentionally cannibalize all their premium products. It's meant to be the best option you have now.
Good. Terrific. Well, great. Thanks for coming to Meet the Drapers.
Thanks so much.
Good.
It was a great experience to be live. I think the pitch went pretty well. There were some questions we didn't have full time for me to answer, but he loved the product, got inside of it, said he would be a customer, thought it was very comfortable, so that's good. They thought the market was very small, and there were only a few people who were participating in the manufacturing space, so that limits my options to shop around. But I tried to tell them it's more of an airline pitch, and the airlines will ultimately be the customers and the buyers of it, but that it's really gonna be dependent on how quickly I can gain traction there. I want to tell people that if you're unhappy with the current state of how you travel in economy class, please help me support this innovation and tell airlines that with only incremental investment and a little bit of risk, they can really improve the experience for a lot of people.
So what did everybody think of Zephyr seat? But let's ask our judges. What did you think, Prita?
So design's amazing. I think, absolutely flying coach is not the most fun experience. So I think from that perspective, it's clever, it's interesting, and it would be extremely helpful to travelers. I think there's a lot of challenges. Finding actually who's gonna be the person that's gonna say, yes, I'm gonna pay for this, I'm gonna buy it. I'm actually also concerned in terms of liability for just what airlines have to carry by having a ladder. Especially this international, people end up having alcohol. I don't know. There's just so many scenarios.
The top story is my concern about it. Yeah.
My point of view is this might be a terrific design. The minute that is discovered by the customers, the airlines, Boeing and the other big manufacturers are going to have it much cheaper, and they're going to flatten you out. I would never invest in this.
My point of view is somewhat like that. That's why I kept pushing for a new business model. I think he's going to be squeezed between the people who make
the seats don't want to have to,
and the airlines. He's got a supplier and a customer who are going to slowly squeeze together. The customer will keep asking for a lower price, and the supplier will keep asking for more money. What I said is, you've got somebody sitting in your seat for 10 hours. You should be able to do something with that person in that seat. You can put the screens in there. You can advertise a number of different things. You can really grab that customer for 10 10 hours. And he's not doing anything with that. That's the only ongoing business that looks interesting from a business standpoint. The design standpoint, I think he's making all of our lives much better.
Yeah.
And we should thank him for that, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to invest unless he does kind of, a light goes off and he starts thinking about the business.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be sitting. I usually just put my feet up on the other person's thing, and then they get mad.
I've seen your feet.
You've seen my
I've seen your feet.
You've seen
Yep.
them go right up in
Right
the air.
behind me, right here. Great. With that, let's bring on our next contestant. But before we do, let's look and see what's going on behind the scenes.
My name's Chad Marcianic. I'm the Vice President of Engineering, and we're with Story2.
I'm Carol Barish, the founder and CEO of Story2. We teach people how to tell their stories out loud and how to use the science of storytelling to improve their speaking and writing in high-stakes communications. So storytelling evolved to help human beings navigate between tribe and other. And it's an idea whose time has come. It's deep within our brains, and we need it. We need this shared storytelling to get the planet to a shared future. I'm really excited.
I couldn't even sleep last night.
I'm from a family of entrepreneurs, and I think we'll learn a lot. It gives us an opportunity to amplify what we're doing and just get it out to a wider universe.
So, welcome to Meet the Drapers. Give us your pitch.
Thank you. When I was a freshman at Yale, my first English professor said...
She went to Yale. How
so
about
did
that?
I.
So did he. Two Yaleys.
80. My first English professor said, I hope you're not planning to major in English, because you'll never be able to write well enough to graduate. 10 years later, I was at a conference in Park City, Utah, and he walked up to the table where my book was on display. I looked at him and I said, do you remember when you said I'd never be able to write well enough to graduate in English? Looked at his feet and said, I guess I made a mistake. I said, please don't say that to any other students.
Why? He got you to write a book.
Most people, as you know, really struggle to write. And even more than that, people hate to speak in public. But it doesn't have to be like that. I started Story2. It's an app that teaches people how to speak and write confidently using the science of storytelling to make it really simple to improve anyone's communication. When we tell stories, 3 things happen in our brains. Our memories, our emotions, and our desire to act are activated all at once. And when we listen to a story or read a story, through a process called mental mirroring, the same 3 things happen in our brains. It's that connection between memory and emotion that makes stories so powerful.
This is how you ended up feeling like you were with Castro.
I told a story on David Letterman once that I had had dinner with Fidel Castro because my father had, and it was a great story, so I thought, oh, this will be a great story. I put myself in the story.
Do you have a history of that sort of thing? No.
And so anyway, I don't know if that's your point, but to lie on national television, but go ahead.
It happens occasionally.
Yeah.
Only occasionally. Have you been watching the news?
Yeah, right.
And Story Builder also offers asynchronous and live online courses to help you master any high-stake communication, things like college admission essays, also job interviews, and pitching a new product.
So is this more training me to be a better storyteller, or is it more Post-it notes up on the wall?
Storytelling is in our DNA. If you could speak, you could tell a story.
And in the world with other people.
Who buys this? And how do you make money?
So we started in New York City, helping first-generation college students who were applying for selective competitive jobs and internships. And we helped them use the science of storytelling to bridge from high school to college and college to grad school and high-value global careers. We tried storytelling in lots of different educational outcomes, but when we taught people to tell their stories first, their own stories, everything got easier. They studied longer, their English improved if it was their second language, lots of benefits from storytelling. And so where do you need to tell stories? Those god-awful college admission essays. So we made a really simple process to teach students to do that themselves.
How do you make money?
So we make money by selling our app to people who are applying to college, people who are applying for jobs.
And how much do they pay?
On average, about $300. We have currently 20,000 students in the class of 2020, so students who are applying to college now. Since we launched in 2014, we've worked with more than 200,000 students around the world. I really think that that's just the beginning.
Are they paying customers or?
Yes, we have a metric that we call paid storytellers. So some people pay for themselves, some people are paid through their school or their college access organization.
20,000 people paying
$300. So that's the average.
That's $6 million a year. That's very tiny market for anybody to be backing.
Well, so the global market for improved communications, if you think of us as, all the places where someone needs to communicate better, the global market is over $250 billion, especially in China.
$250 billion?
Yeah, think about it. People improving their English to get jobs, to improve
Oh, you're talking about all education everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you make this into a real business that can grow and become that big?
So in the United States, we're partnering with large companies that work with lots and lots of students. So a couple of non-disclosure agreements I can't tell you right now, but if you think about the two biggest players in the college admission space, we're talking to them. In the United States, we went to schools first. In China, we're doing the same thing. And then through schools, we also sell to parents. And then as students get older, there's a huge market in career services.
Yeah, I think Kaplan and Princeton Review will do incredibly well with this kind of a product to kind of build on what they already teach.
Mm-hmm.
How did you two meet each other?
I met her through an interview. They were looking for a lead engineer. I came in and met with Carol. We talked about the product and Story2's mission. I loved the mission, and I thought, you know what? I wanted to be the one to come in and bring this to the world because I really believe in it. To give people the power to communicate well and powerfully opens so many doors, from going to the college of your dreams, to the job of your dreams, to being your own boss.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to meet the Drapers.
Thank you.
Great job. That was really great.
It was great. I had a lot of fun.
I was surprised that they just started interrupting the pitch and talking to one another, but that was great. It made it just very authentic and real and a lot of fun. The big thing that we talked about was just how to scale the business. How to go from a couple $1 million a year revenue now to hundreds of millions of dollars by scaling globally. I think that's really the big question. It really felt like they were listening and they cared, and it was a good conversation.
Storytelling is in all of us. We could all tell a story. We can all learn how to tell stories and tell them well. And we want to really empower people to be able to open their own doors, be the master of their own destiny, and kind of unlock that superpower in everybody through storytelling.
So, what did you all think of Story2? Prita, what did you think of Story2?
I'm still trying to figure out exactly what Story2 is, to be honest. So, well, I think having like a product demo, having screens, like the whole user experience would have been invaluable, right? Because I think so much of the time was spent for us to try to figure out what exactly this is. I also don't quite understand what they're doing that's different than already out there. Like, there's tons of places where you can go to get, editing on your essays, support in writing stories, so there's so much out there. I don't really understand what is the science, what is this process, what's the unique advantage, so.
Also, it costs $300, so
expensive.
It's not like this is the one for people that can't afford SAT tutors. And yeah, the whole time I was like, I just want to see what questions they ask. Next time they do a pitch, they should probably say, okay,
product.
You, tell me this, and then, okay, so then what about this? And then so that we'd get an idea.
I think this is going to be a nice small business if they charge enough. She is really into it and good salesman, but I don't see the business growing into a major operation. Tough market to really make money on.
I like the passion they had for storytelling and to train other people in storytelling, but there's no business mind here. You add it all up, it's a $6 million market.
Yeah.
Can't even get to be a $6 million business. And instead of saying, oh, I don't know, I can't tell you who they are, but they're they're the two. I mean, I knew who the two were like that.
Oh, you did? How did you
When you
know?
said that, I was like, wow, way to go, Tim. Yeah.
Yeah,
how did
Kaufman,
you know?
Princeton Review. They're the only ones who do all the SAT stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh.
Yeah. Even if they go through Princeton Review or Kaufman, all the Kaufman and Princeton Review guys will do is say, oh, what part of this can we incorporate into our program? And if they get paid anything in that
That'll be
deal,
over.
it'll be a miracle.
Because they'll take it.
That she didn't communicate her business.
I know, right?
Her business
Yeah.
is training people on
That
communication.
was so fascinating.
Even on the revenue, like I definitely thought, she sort of evaded the question, like how much money has the business actually made, right?
You've heard from two. We've got one more entrepreneur today. We're really excited to bring them on. But before we do, let's see what's going on behind the scenes.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Timo.
And we're Avenify. Avenify is a marketplace lending platform for income share agreements so students can apply to finance their education debt-free, backed by investors who earn a return when they succeed. Timo and I were both recently students, and we had been affected by student loans. Student debt is approaching $2 trillion in the US, and so we saw a pressing need for friendlier student financing, and so we set out to build a product that we would have wanted to use ourselves.
This is the first pitch we've done on camera, I guess. I don't know this, so that's pretty exciting.
I'm pretty familiar with the Drapers and especially Tim Draper and kind of the venture capital scene. So excited to work with him and everybody else and get their feedback on the idea and make this thing happen.
Welcome to Meet the Drapers. Give us your pitch.
Thank you. My name is Justin.
And I'm Timo.
And we're the co-founders of Avenify. Avenify is a marketplace lending platform for income share agreements. We allow students to apply to finance their education debt-free, backed by investors who earn a return when the students succeed.
So Avenify is addressing three main problems that students face. First is access to capital for students. The second is the unaffordability and inflexibility of current student loan solutions. And then the third problem that we're addressing is actually a problem that investors face, and that's to invest in human potential. And invest in students that they believe in. Right now it's difficult for many students who don't have a long credit history, don't have a cosigner, don't have collateral, to get access to lines of credit that make sense for them. A great example of this is for student loans. If you're an education major and you expect to be making 40 to 50K a year out of college versus if you're a computer science major and you expect to be making 6 figures, both of you are going to be getting pretty similar terms if you have pretty similar credit history. And we don't think that makes sense. And so the way Avenify solves this is we have a proprietary underwriting model that takes in like tens of thousands of data points from student and alumni earning data, and then underwrites each student based on what they're studying in school, where they're going to school, and where they're going to be living after graduation.
So the computer science major gets more scholarship than the art major?
They get better terms because our credit is based on their future earning potential rather than their past credit performance.
So what are some of the numbers? Like how many customers do you have? What's the revenue you've made?
Yeah, so we launched to borrowers about 3 months ago. We have 2,000 students signed up on the platform. 600 of those students applied for funding. We issued our first 3 ISAs with over $20,000 in investments that we processed through our platform. Yeah.
And what's the deal you have with them?
The terms that we have for the 3 of them all range between 1% and 5% of income for 120 months.
So 10 years.
Yeah, but we also have a progressive payback cap, which allows you to just pay up to the cap and be freed of that obligation early. And so our payback cap scales with the amount of time you've been in repayment. And so they can pay back up to that cap earlier.
In other words, isn't this a very competitive thing?
We're only one of just a few ISA marketplaces on the market right now. And we're the only platform on the market that has a portal for both borrowers and investors.
What does an investor get out of the deal? What are you expecting their return to be?
Yeah, so the returns that we've projected are 7 to 9% annualized, and that's net of our fees.
A lot of students default, and that's one of the reasons the student loan piled up so much is that they're not being paid back.
Yeah, that's true of federal loans. It's not very true of private loans. So as a private loan provider, because we can be much more selective. Federal loans have cohort default rates around 12.5% right now, and private loans only have cohort default rates of around 2 to 3%.
And we're seeing the biggest reason that students default on existing student loans is because those payments don't match their circumstances. So because we set the terms unique to each student and tailor the terms based on their student profile and what we project their future earning potential to be, those payments are always affordable.
I mean, over time, doesn't this business sort of commoditize? There are going to be a lot of you out there, and the students are going to be able to shop around. and you'll get squeezed down just like the other ones. How do you build a business that way?
Yeah, and so you're absolutely right. There are a lot of lending options for students on the market today, but very few of those lending options are actually invested in student success. And so we want to build more than just a lending platform for students. We want to give students the ability to get job recommendations and referrals, find mentorship, get career advice, and with the marketplace model, we can leverage our existing retail investor base to help them do that.
So what's your fee, and then how do you actually market this? Because you went from 2,000 to 3. So that means you guys need scale, right? To really make this work.
So we take 2% of all money invested on the platform up front, and then 1.5% of all student payments, and that's where we generate our revenue. As far as marketing, right now a lot of the outreach to students was a combination of online marketing done through like Instagram and social media channels, and then direct outreach to students. So we actually, from February to April, we were in an RV and did a road trip around the country, just visiting college campuses and promoting Avenify. For the investor outreach, a lot of the investor outreach so far has been organic, and that's just been within the tech community, but we're exploring sort of different investor marketing strategies.
Who are the biggest 2 or 3 companies in this field that are already lending to students?
Yeah, so all the companies in this field are still pretty early stage, and so their progress is pretty on par with the progress we've made. So there's us, Avenify, there's Blair, and then there's a company called Alma Pact.
Why do you guys care about this?
Yeah, so we were both students ourselves. We had been affected by student loans. Student debt is at an all-time high. It's approaching $2 trillion in student loans outstanding. Default rates are at an all-time high. Like Timo said, the payments are high and inflexible. They don't make sense for students. And so we want to build financing that actually invests in the students and build a platform that we would have wanted to use ourselves.
Well, terrific. Well, thank you so much, Avenify, for coming to meet the Drapers.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I felt good. I felt like we communicated the kind of main points that we wanted to get across about the value that we're bringing to students and why investors are interested in ISAs. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest feedback was just, there are a lot of existing student lending products on the market, and so figuring out a way to differentiate ourselves and build a product that's longer lasting than just student financing. And so something that we're going to be focusing on over the next few months is building out more products for students that they can use beyond graduating, so job referrals, recommendations, things like that. So we just launched our crowdfunding campaign on Republic. We've seen some great traction so far. We think this is a great opportunity to get involved with Avenify and be involved even if you can't invest on the platform.
So, what did you all think of Avenify? And what did we all think of Avenify?
Well, first, I guess I just have to say is that just from a product perspective, just my advice to the entrepreneurs is there's such an amazing opportunity here to be able to touch on your heartstrings, show photos, give profiles, who are the people that we're helping, this is their background. Just from that perspective, I didn't connect to it. I didn't emotionally get sucked in. I didn't have a lot of confidence in their ability to execute, to be honest. They seemed very, very young. You're dealing with money for that. There's a lot of security and fraud and insurance and just things that, we want to make sure that's really well thought out. I would be scared to put money on that platform, to be honest.
I think you can get student loans far below 7 and 8%, and they're paying 7 and 8%.
Yeah.
And student loans are pretty flexible. If students can't pay, the banks will own them forever.
They're happy to do that.
The banks will own them forever.
Also, one thing that you said that I thought was so smart is when you're going to do a presentation like this, make us feel secure. Put a lot of slides up on the projector that show the people that has satisfied customers, the vision for it. That's all I could think of was, who are the 3 students that have trusted in this? This scares me.
Well, they don't have to trust. They get the money.
They get the money.
It's the investor.
all of it feels funky.
So bad for them.
I wasn't that impressed with them or with the idea, because the idea seems a hell of a marketing job, and I'm not sure I would know how to even go about it if I were given the job of marketing.
Yeah, it's simple, and so anyone can do it, which is what I'm concerned about. My analyst left me so he could go do an ISA business.
Oh, really?
Is that right?
Because they're all looking and they're saying there's a huge problem with student loans.
Right.
So there are millions of students who who all feel like the student loan thing was a total ripoff.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, what's an alternative?
Yeah.
And Lambda School actually gives school away to computer programmers, and then they go out and then they give them something like 17% of their salary for 2 years. This is for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's looking a lot more like a loan.
That's very grim. Yeah.
Okay. So we've seen 3 really interesting entrepreneurs this afternoon.
Yeah.
And we got to choose one to go on to the semifinals. I need all my judges to come up with a winner and why. Then I will just refer to the crystal ball and we'll figure out which one ends up going forward. Okay, so just to refresh you, Avenify, who you just saw, they're doing these loans that are attached to how much they earn. The other 2 we saw were Zephyr Seat, and then the third, Story2, the people who are educating us all on how best to tell a story. So tough call, tough decision.
I go for Zephyr, and not just because right now I feel like taking a nap.
God, that's nice.
It stimulated my it blew my mind. It was so fascinating. I know that there are drawbacks and all the things that you said about who he's selling to. I didn't feel passionate about either of the other 2, so that struck my fancy, and so that's the one I would go with.
Prita, what do you think?
I'm definitely with you as well, and for very similar reasons. He definitely seemed like the person that, he's just scrappy. Like at some point, I think he'll figure it out. And so I don't necessarily see the market being maybe the airline industry. Who knows? It could evolve into some other mode of transportation. But, you know, he's done it before. He's been able to find a way to have, like, you know, meetings with the right people. So at least he's like in that world, right? We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how it's going to shape out. But I think out of the 3, I would say the same.
Yeah, no, I would go with Carol Brash, the entrepreneur who went to Yale.
Some loyalties never die.
And Princeton, actually. She also went to Princeton. The concept of building a story and sort of threw me for a while, but I think she's going to pull it off. I would go with her as opposed. I did not like this for the reasons I stated before. I think you get into that manufacturing of major airplanes and you're lost.
Okay, so let's bring in these 3 talented entrepreneurs. We'll see what the crystal ball has in store for them. So, what do you think, viewer? Is it Avenify or Zephyr or Story2? We're going to consult the crystal ball, but before we do, all of you, this is great because you all get to do crowdfunding. The crowd out there, the viewers, are going to potentially invest in you and can also vote you into the finals. We have the ability to move you to the semifinals, and only one of you will head forward to the semifinals. If you move to the semifinals, you get an investment of $10,000 and you get to crowdfund again because you'll be on the show. So with that, I'd like to take each of you separately. So Story2, I love your passion for storytelling. And that professor had a huge impact on you. And what I really should tell you right now is you're never going to make it as an entrepreneur.
Very good.
As a team, you look like you're going to work well together. It's still early. We would have loved to have seen some sort of demonstration of what that thing was going to look like. We're also very concerned about market size, and I think some real market sizing would be a really good exercise for you so you can really understand who are we going after and how do we make this into a really big business. So Zephyr, we were very excited about your design. We were a little concerned about the people who have to go upstairs. But we're very excited about it because if you're paying economy and you can lay down, that's huge. Our major concern is that you have a supplier and a customer who will both squeeze you down over time, and then you'll be in between all of that, and they will tweak the design and overcome your IP, whatever it is. I think that there is a really interesting business here, but I think there is some business modeling in your future. So Avenify, people are realizing there's a huge problem with college loans. What's good and bad is that everybody's identified it, and there are thousands of students coming out of college saying, this didn't work for me. How do we change the system? And there are a lot of students coming out doing just what you guys are doing. That's both a benefit and a huge concern. I think it's going to be incredibly competitive, and over time it's going to shrink down. Unless you grab these customers and you figure out what to do with them next. Don't think in terms of this as being a one-shot sale. Think of it as a long-term customer acquisition thing. So with that, we've put all this information into the crystal ball, and I'm going to go through the crystal ball and see what it has in store for me. Is it Zephyr Avienda? Story2, Avenify. Boogie, boogie, snoogie, boogie, boogie. It is Zephyr. Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you. You're moving forward for sure.
Thank you.
You guys still could be moving forward depending on what our viewing audience says. But congratulations, you are moving to the semifinals for today, and congratulations. And I think that whatever happens with you, I think all of us will be a lot happier when we take those long flights when we're in economy. Okay, so after that, we'd love for all of you to come on up. Dad, come on up. And see us next week on Meet the Drapers!
Today, who I tell it to tomorrow, I'll be forever changed by being here with the Drapers.
That's for sure.
I hope it's for the better.
Yeah,
for sure.